Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name's David Dungay. Today I'm joined by Mark Bunnell, COO at New Wave. Welcome to the show, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Great. So today, Mark, we are talking around our December feature headline. We were looking at trends into the future, and the title of this session is Teleporting into the Future. And we're going to be talking about migration journeys and what New Wave is doing around those migration journeys to help their customers and partners really, supercharge those events, if you like. So, should we get into some questions, Mark? We're talking about sort of the landscape as it is today. We know a lot of organisations are still yet to make that transition between the world of PBX and hybrid systems. So, why do you think so many organisations are still stuck on these legacy PBXs in 2024?
Well, I think that there's a lot of reasons. But the biggest one I believe is that the person who is now running the legacy PBX isn't the person who set it up, right? It's they have a bunch of stale records. They have maybe many systems depending on how many sites you have and things like that, and they just don't know how to get in there, how to get the information, how to plan that information into one of these cloud systems. I think that there's a ton of people that want to move to the cloud. They just don't know what string to pull first, and so then basically you just get analysis paralysis and you don't do anything.
Yeah, it can be quite a beast to digest, if you like, when you're looking at all of your systems across the business. So obviously we've gone through that kind of pandemic phase. We're out of that, but we obviously saw lots of migrations happening during that phase. Some happened at breakneck speed, some not so much. But what have been, I guess, the biggest barriers to UC migrations until now? As an industry, why haven't we solved them yet?
Yeah, I think it really goes back to what I just mentioned, right? You just don't know what to do first. Some of these systems, you have, going across multiple sites, you have them going across multiple countries, you have multiple carriers that are involved. There's a lot of pieces, and during pandemic, I think you just had the low hanging fruit that migrated first, right? People who had the right records, who had the right information, who maybe it was the person who initially rolled out the system, so they could easily move to the cloud just because they were all set up. But I think all of that really easy stuff is gone, and so now you're really looking at legacy systems that maybe have been in place for a decade or more, and it's really that not being able to get that information out. And then when you get it, maybe that has been, layered on over time with employees that are not there anymore. And so you have a bunch of information to, really kind of comb through and see, what do I actually need now? And is that information compatible with the new cloud systems that are in so do I have feature parity and things like that to be able to build the right, pieces in the new cloud system?
Yeah. Well, let's look forwards to 2025. Do you see 2025 as a sort of a tipping point for UC migrations? What are your kind of expectations there next year?
I think it definitely will be a tipping point, just simply because we have so many companies, so many partners, tier one, carriers that are using the network today, using iPilot. And so, being able to have a tool like this to help transition them very, seamlessly is definitely going to help, just because the ecosystem is so vast. I really think that this 2025 and 26 is going to see a mass migration piece happen across the board. And the great thing is that it's all self-service, so it's not dependent on New Wave or any one company to do all the migrations. This is going to be a tool that's out in the ecosystem at large, and it's so simple to use that you're going to really start to see that ramp up very quickly.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about the specifics of the tool a little bit in a moment. But you mentioned a lot of people have been on these legacy systems for maybe 10 years or longer. Some of those legacy vendors are seen as bulletproof as well. So it's hard to get people away from things that just work, if you know what I mean. And you really have to sell those additional benefits, don't you, of the cloud and what that's going to do for the business. But do you think there's an urgency now for businesses to modernize? Is that something we've just got to that point and we've got to go to the cloud now, or do you think there's something else driving this?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that are driving this, So one, the legacy phone systems have maybe been in for a long time. They're end of life. They're not really supported anymore. So you want to get off of those systems, just from that sheer standpoint of you have a single point of failure. You don't want to, be in the boat where your system is down. So having cloud resiliency is a big thing. A lot of the new modern features are in the new cloud systems, and that maybe you don't have the features that you want to drive your business today, in the older systems. Copper going away is a real thing. So a lot of those systems are, still accessed via copper, systems, whether that be, E1s, PRIs, POTS lines, those types of things. So, you're kind of future proofing yourself from that standpoint, as well. So there's really a number of factors that all point to moving to the cloud, but you have to be able to, get there without forgetting or losing anything or losing any features and benefits. And that's exactly what we're providing.
Great. Well, let's maybe talk about the more global perspective now. What role do global voice networks and carrier-agnostic tools play in making these migrations, a whole lot easier?
Well, they're providing all the services to these, legacy PBXs, right? So all of these carriers, they really need to embrace an agnostic approach. Obviously they're connected and they have an invested interest in, helping their customers move over. But, when you have multinationals and others, they have, quite frankly, lots of contracts, lots of different carriers, those types of things that are happening. And so they kind of need to work together to service the customer, because ultimately the customer knows what they need. They know what sites they're in. They know, all of the feature sets and things that they want to move over. And so having tools like this and having these voice providers, play in the same arena together, there's enough business for everybody, but, ultimately we need to make sure that they kind of come together to provide a seamless solution for the customer or the partner that's maybe moving some of these customers.
Yeah, and maybe let's talk about some of your partners here as well. Of course, as a sort of a partner-orientated business, how can your partners and maybe carrier customers as well really turn these migrations into new opportunities or new revenue opportunities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these partners, MSPs, CSPs, SIs, typically they're the ones who are actually doing the migrations. A lot of the carriers, they a lot of times rely on SIs and other integration partners to help the end user customers, where they do assessments, they do planning, they do implementation, migrations. And so, these tools for that community is really critical, where they can do more with less. And so, having a tool like this that's fully automated, that, takes into account all the different pieces that it needs to touch, and then providing that solution seamlessly, to be able to do, 30, 40 times the work they normally would have been able to do with the current staff they have. Now you have a tool that can, help increase those numbers and get more migrations done.
Yeah, so it's really that automation makes this a great volume game for those partners, which is fantastic. Well, let's talk about Teleport then. You've kind of alluded to it a few times already, Mark, with some of the sort of features and benefits. But for those listeners that may not have grasped everything you've said to this point, what does make the New Wave Teleport a game changer compared to maybe some of those tools that are in existence today?
Well, for one, it's fully integrated into iPilot, and so I think that's the number one differentiator. It's just that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Maybe you could expand on that. What do you mean by fully integrated, and what is this doing for that migration experience?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the great thing is because our ecosystem is so vast, we have a lot of the top tier, carriers all over the globe. And so what's great about the full integration is that in previous tools, you're just analyzing what they have, you're putting a plan into place. There's still a lot of manual intervention that has to go in with mapping and feature parity and all of those things. And then, if you're a multinational, for example, and you have 15 different carriers, across the globe, then you're not really doing anything there. You don't have the automation, you don't have the full integration. But with us, the tool is integrated. So when you do the planning and then you want to actually do the migration, it takes into account, do you have on-premise SIP trunks, on your account? Do you need to swing those numbers from those on-prem SIP trunks over to the cloud system? Do you have multiple carriers that you need to manage in those voice numbers? Are you tying those numbers into a port order that you have coming in, or a batch of numbers that you want to upload into the system in specific countries or different carriers? And so, it does everything that those previous tools are doing as far as the analyzing what you currently have, doing the planning of what you want to scrub out, like all the old records of old employees that aren't there anymore, and those are gone. And then you want to build your auto attendants, your call queues, your hunt groups, and you want to press 1 for this and 2 for that. Like, it builds all of those things and includes all the carrier routing translations and everything else that has to go, so that you get a total tool that manages all of those things, all automatically at your fingertips, that you as a customer can manage your own phone systems and migrate them, or a partner can do it on behalf of the customers, or the top tier 1 carrier can do it on behalf of anybody in the ecosystem. So, for us, scale isn't just how many bulk users I can turn up. That's table stakes at this point. Scale for us is that plus duplication. How many other people, self-serving partners, carriers, service delivery teams, everyone, how many people can I get duplicating the work so that you get true scale, moving forward?
Of course, part of helping that, I guess, scale game, if you like, that you're in is, Teleport is offered as a free feature as well, which has always amazed me. How do you think, offering this as a free feature really changes that adoption landscape for businesses generally? Aside from the obvious, it's free.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't want there to be barriers to adoption, right? And that's our whole mantra, is that, we could nickel and dime things to death, right? But we want to make sure that our customers are happy. We want to make sure that when they say that, they have a barrier to adoption of service, that we look at that very seriously and say, okay, what can we do as a company to help our customers be more successful? And so these are the things that we do. We have a huge dev team. And so, our customers and partners really kind of think of us as an extension of that dev team. And so, we want to turn out features that matter to the ecosystem and to our partners. And so this is why we felt like, this is one of the things that, it can change the game on its own. And sure, could we make money from it? Yes, we could. But the better benefit was to the ecosystem and the partners, for them to be able to have a feature. Now, if they want to monetize it, that's fine. They can, monetize it to their customers if they feel like that's part of their business plan and what they want to do. But we just wanted to provide the feature and offer it up for free so we get mass adoption.
Fantastic. So, Mark, before I leave you today, should we give our viewers a bit of a forward-looking statement? If there's one message you really want to get across to people to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
Yeah, so, we're here talking about Teleport and, the amazing feature set that it has and what its capabilities are. And it's truly going to be a game changer in the market for adoption of cloud services. And yes, that's wonderful, right? But I think I want to take a step back and really just illustrate as a company what New Wave has continued to demonstrate, not through marketing, but through actions, right? We don't really talk about things until they work. We're an engineering first company. And so, I really want people to take away that when we determine that there's a feature set, an ecosystem, product that we can put out there, we're just going to continue to add value. Teleport could have been a huge monetary benefit for New Wave, but there's a bigger piece that we want to do, is that we're always going to provide the next feature, the next service, because we want to add value above anything else to our partners and to our ecosystem. We're going to continue to do this. And so there's a whole bunch of new features that we have coming out. Anybody who's seen our system in the past can testify to the rate of innovation, the rate of feature sets, that we don't nickel and dime it. We keep adding and adding and adding. And so anyone who saw our system, say even 6 months ago, to what it is today, they can see the pace of innovation and how much we continue to add. And then we just keep giving it away, to the partners who have adopted the system. And I'll put our product up against anyone in the market. Go look at anybody who says they're competing with New Wave, and then look at what we're doing, and I will guarantee that you'll go with us every time, because the product speaks for itself.
Strong words to finish, Mark. I like it. Mark, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your insights. I look forward to the next conversation.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a like and a share on social media. That's it from me. See you next time.